Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Marwell Manor. It's the first day of autumn and it's now time for us to harvest our oat field. Now this is a big field, it's going to take us a very long time. I don't think I can understate just how long it's going to take us to do this field, which is why we're starting very early in the morning. It's just gone 2 a.m. I was initially planning to sort of start around 3, but I woke up a little bit earlier and I figured, why not? Let's get started straight away. So here we are then, just after 2 in the morning, getting started on our oat field. As I say, this is going to take us a very long time to do, and we do need to straw swath this field at some point. We need to make some straw bales, and that's going to be a little bit more time consuming than I would like. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to chop some of this field, and the rest we're going to kind of just you know, we'll do straw swaths down that sort of large central concourse all the way down the field that way, but around the edges, around the borders, and on these side pieces we're just going to chop the straw. We don't need to get bales off the entire field because it would just be an unwieldy number of bales for us to have to deal with. We would certainly hit our bale limit on more than one occasion, I think, because we do have bales in storage, and we also have silage bales that are just finishing fermenting, just parked up over there as well, which we need to try and sell off in the next day or so. So it's just it's not really manageable for us to go ahead and and then just, you know, bale the entire field. It's just too much. It'll take far too long as well. Our soybean is coming along very nicely, and we should be looking at maybe getting that field harvested tomorrow. Actually, no, baling tomorrow. So day after tomorrow, we'll be looking at getting our soybean done. We still have those other bales, as I said, just over there that we need to sell off. And we also have a second cut on field 19 to finish. The rest of that grass should be growing along quite nicely, and be ready for us to complete the second cut on that field in the next day or two as well. So we really can't spend 2 days baling and collecting and dealing with all the bales on this field, which is probably how long it would take us. We just don't have the time. So we'll get a good amount of straw off the field. We'll bale up a good portion of it, but we won't bale the entire thing because it's just it's going to be too much work for us to do, and not enough time to get it done. One of the problems of coming onto a new farm is always in the first year it can be a little bit more rushed in the harvest period, because you've had to go through that period of ploughing your fields out in the first year, whereas when you're into the second year the fields aren't going to need ploughing. You can kind of just get away with going straight on and turning the field over with a cultivator. We didn't have that luxury, so it took us a little bit longer to get our field set up, which means we have a little bit less time available at the end of the year to get other jobs done. So we're kind of managing our limitations a little bit this year. Next year will be different. Next year we could potentially, depending on what we have planted on here, we could bale the entire field. Well, I think we'll probably end up with a soybean crop on this field next year. We'll see how that shakes out. Still haven't kind of finalised my crop lineup for next year yet. I'm still kind of umming and ahhing as to what I want to plant and where I want to plant it. We're going to rotate our crops a little bit, so we'll be putting canola onto field 1 next year. It's, you know, so we planted it on 15 last year, but we don't want to plant it on the same field 2 years in a row, so we'll move canola over to field 1. We'll probably put wheat or maybe barley onto field 15. This field, as I say, will probably become soybean, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with field 19, or what we end up creating field 19. I'm not sure what we'll put on there yet. I haven't quite figured that one out. We could go for more canola, possibly. I don't want to do too much soybean. We'll get so much off this field, that'll probably be more than enough to meet the demands in the area, or at least the immediate area. We do need to sort of extend our network a little bit of places that we can actually sell to. So next year, I think possibly We might do oats on 19. If we do wheat on 15, then we could do barley on 19. We could split it that way. We'll have a think about it over the winter period to decide exactly what we want to plant and where. But to start us off on this field, we've just put a split in the field. We're going to clean this whole little section off here, where the field kind of follows the tree line, and that'll all be chopped. And then we'll work along the bottom of the field, and we'll create ourselves a nice pass or 2 or 3 pass border along the bottom, so that we have turning room. We're not right up against that hedge. And then we'll do the same on the other side. We'll create a nice clean line for us to work from. That'll then designate where we're going to be swathing and where we're going to be chopping. And then we'll clean out the other side of the field, and then this central section here, this will be, as I say, everything that will be chopping. No, sorry, everything in the middle will be what will be swathing. So we won't get full sort of bale potential off this field, but we will certainly get more than enough to be able to put some bales in storage and sell quite a few of them as well, and make some extra cash that way. It's going to be a very, very long day. I'm going to be in this cab for pretty much all of it, I think. We're starting in the dark here, and no doubt we'll be finishing in the dark as well. That's, I think that's pretty much a guarantee. So the baling is going to be done tomorrow. We're just not going to have time to bale this field today and, you know, get it harvested. It's too much work for one day. But we have our first little sort of section here for us to work. See, it's not too big a section. Shouldn't take us too long to clear this off here. There's our nice clean edge there for us to then sort of start our swathing. I'm just looking at our capacity. We're up to 18,600. We've got a 10,000 litre tank, so I've got to be careful I don't don't reach a point where I'm full and I then drive through the crop. I've got to be very careful I don't hit capacity and just plough on forward without realising. That's 9,000, so we've got 1,000 litres left in storage. We should be, well, in our tank, 1,000 litres of space left in there. We should just about make it to the bottom of the field, I think. It's going to be close. And then we'll have plenty of room to turn around down there, bring the 7R up with the trailer, get unloaded, carry on cleaning off this section, and then work along the bottom of the field there. What are we up to now? 9.6 nearly. The edge of the field, I think, just coming into view. So dark we can barely see where we're going. It's 9.8. Oh, I think we're going to have to stop just before we get to the end. 9.9. Yeah, we're not going to quite make it. There we go. So let's back up a little bit. Try to avoid going into the crop with the wheels. That should be clear enough. Let's get the pipe out. There we go. And now we've got a bit of a trek to head back and go and collect the 7R. But once it's on the field, it'll then be, you know, kind of easy for us to locate. So we'll go grab that and get our combine unloaded. While I'm heading back there, I just want to say a big thank you to Mikhail and also to Lance, who have recently supported the channel. Thank you very much. Your generosity is very much appreciated. So there we go, combine unloaded. Oh, that's how close we were to the bottom of the field, look, really close. We almost made it. I didn't realise we were quite that close. Let's just take a little bit more off the bottom here. Turning around at the other end of the field could be a little bit tricky. when we're going across the bottom to create our border, but hopefully it won't be too bad. And it shouldn't take us too long to get this section done now as well. I mean, we've already done 2 pretty solid passes. You know, with our border pass and our cut straight down the middle. This section here shouldn't take us massively long, but this is only a small piece of the field, and we've been going for, well, just over an hour. So yeah, it's going to take us quite some time to get the entire thing done. I would probably think we're going to be pushing midnight, I think, which is going to be insanely far to do. What we'll do is we'll probably run the harvester for the first part of the day, and then, you know, we'll take a break and we'll get a worker to finish the field off for us. I don't want to be spending, you know, 20 hours or so, you know, sat in here. I don't want to get too tired and make a mistake. So we'll have a change of shift at some point. We'll do what we can, and then when we start to feel a bit too tired, just to avoid making mistakes with what is essentially our money crop this year, you know, this field here with the best treatment that it's had of all of our fields, and the largest volume. We want to make sure that we don't do anything that's going to, you know, damage the amount of income we could bring in. We don't want to drive into the crop. We don't want to you know, make a mistake with our harvester settings. So as I say, it's a way to combat fatigue. You know, fatigue. What we'll do is we'll do some of the field, and when we reach a certain point and we've been in here for a certain number of hours, we'll switch out. We'll jump into the 7R, and we'll get a worker to help us out by running the combine, so that everybody stays fresh and nobody makes any mistakes. I think that's going to be the most effective way for us to go about this. Let's just grab that little bit behind us as well, so we don't have to come all the way back to the bottom of the field. Just for that little piece. There we go. I wonder how much fuel we're going to burn through today. Not quite a full tank, but not far off. I can see it's probably using, maybe getting down to about half a tank, maybe even a little bit more than that. We'll have to see, depending on how much work we do in the 7R as well, because we're going to be back and forth to the silos a fair few times today. We might possibly have to top that up. That's already around about half a tank, I think. So we'll keep an eye on those gauges, make sure we don't just suddenly run out of fuel in the middle of the field. That wouldn't be good. We don't have a fuel tank, a portable fuel tank. So if we do, conk out in the field, then I suppose we'd have to, carry small jerry cans or something, just to get it reloaded enough to be able to get it back to the farm. I also had an interesting email through from the store last night. Obviously, I got in touch and said, I'm thinking about getting a square baler, and I wanted to see what their stock availability was like. They have a Kuhn square baler available, but they did mention that they are going to be partnering up with the Anderson Group, and bringing in a whole range of new baling equipment, which will be available for us in our second year if we want it. So I had toyed with the idea of actually buying a square baler, but having had that little chat with the dealership, I think what I might well do is just lease some square baling equipment this year, and then we'll wait till their sort of Anderson stock comes in, and we'll see what they've got, and maybe some of that would be more appropriate for us and more useful for us going forward. So instead of going with just the Kuhn baler to kind of go alongside the Kuhn baler that we already have, we may well end up switching to Anderson Group instead. We may even, depending on what range they bring with them, we may even get rid of our current baler and replace that with something from Anderson Group Technologies as well. Be interesting to see that full range once it does become available to them, and we are expecting that to happen around the beginning of our second year, I think, is when we think that stuff should become available. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that, because from what I've seen of Anderson Group, they do make some very, very nice equipment. So I'm just finishing putting a border along the bottom edge of the field here. We've got a couple of passes down here, give us a nice bit of turning room, a bit of clearance. Now we're going to go and do a sort of a lap around the edge of the field here. And once we've done this, we'll then start to split this field into another clean section, so we can kind of figure out where our swathing area is going to be and where our chopping area is going to be. So we just need to run around the edge of the field now. We've got a couple of thousand litres already in the tank. We should get round the field, I think. It's going to be tight, but once we get to the bottom edge of the field over there, probably going to have to park up and go grab the 7R again, because that's the point then when we're going to be creating that sort of swathed area, and I may possibly swath in a couple of different areas. We'll see how we get on with that. I mean, I think we're going to probably have more than enough straw to deal with just in the central section of the field, because it's a very, very long field. So we don't need to cover the entire width, because we've got, you know, very, very long passes where each single row, each single swath will produce a large quantity of bales. As I said, it's all about trying not to overwhelm ourselves with just too much to do and not enough time to do it. The bales will bring in a nice little bit of extra cash as well, so we are potentially sacrificing some income. But you know, if it comes to a choice of working with straw bales or getting a second cut done on field 19, or getting the second half of the second cut done on field 19, with silage bales are going to be worth considerably more than the straw bales, I think I'd rather go with the silage bales. As I say, there's only so much we can get done in our first year, because we had to go through that whole ploughing process. So we lost a couple of days where we got all of our fields ploughed. I mean, our first day we spent doing nothing but ploughing this field. Day 2 we ploughed out that field there, and then, you know, I think day 4, I think it was, we ploughed out field 1 over there. So that's nearly half of our spring season was eaten up just by ploughing. Obviously we're not going to have that issue next year, so hopefully, depending on the crops that we go with, we can plant a little bit earlier, which means our harvests will be ready a little bit earlier, hopefully, and we'll have a little bit more time to deal with grass work. At the very least, we'll have more time to deal with grass work, which means that can be done and out of the way, and then when it comes to actual sort of straw baling, we'll have more time available to mess around with straw baling. So it'll all shake out, work out quite nicely for us next year, I think. It's just we have to be a little bit more selective on what we choose to do this year. That's 6,000 litres in the tank. Still a little way to go. We're almost at the bottom of the field, I think. It's a little hard to tell sometimes when you've got no sort of real light, and your only reference point is a hedge with the odd tree. You know, it's like that all the way around the field, isn't it? But there we go, we're at the bottom. I had a feeling we were close here. Let's do a couple of passes along here as well. Again, you can see we're quite close up against the edge of the field. So if we do a couple of passes along here, again, just to give us some good turning room at the bottom of the field. Also, I don't want to start dripping straw all over the all over our pathway there as well, which might make it, you know, problematic collecting it. How are we doing for time? Coming up on 4:45 in the morning. So we've been going for over 2.5 hours now. Long day. Very long day today. And of course, it is that time again. If you want to do the guessing game, guess two things here. How long do you think it's going to take me to get the field done? And how much do you think we're going to get? Like I said, I think we're going to be going till probably around midnight. I can foresee this being a very, very long job indeed. And in terms of yield, I'm expecting probably somewhere in the region of 150,000 litres. Those are my two guesses. So I think we'll be done somewhere around midnight, and we'll have gained about 150,000 litres. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you want to play along. What time do you think I'll finish? How much do you think I'll have when I'm done? And again, no prizes for the right answers or closest answers, just kudos in the comments. But you know, it's a little bit of fun, isn't it? Wow, there we go. That's our first trailer load. So that is a very small portion of the field, essentially. And we have one full trailer already, or just a fraction under. I think we've got a 39 and a bit thousand litre capacity on this trailer, so not quite full, but full enough. Let's go drop this in the silo. Moon is starting to set in the distance over there. Sun, you can just see the faint glow in the distance there. Very, very faint. Sun is just starting to crest. It'll be another hour or so before we get really good light, I think, or at least, you know, decent light. We're still going to need the working lights for another few hours, I think. We're going to get some pretty long shadows cast initially, especially around those trees. It's going to be very dark and very hard to see still, so we're certainly not in a position where we can just say, that's it, it's daytime running. But we are starting to make a good little bit of progress, I think. There we go. That's the first of our crop, the first of our harvest on the oat field into storage, into the silos. Plenty more to go, though. Yeah, you can just see the sun cresting the hill in front of us there. So we're up to, what, nearly 6:30. So we've been going for about 4.25 hours now. The sun is definitely starting to come up. It's definitely getting a lot lighter, as you can see. Starting to see some real colour in the sky. The moon's still there, just hasn't quite gone away just yet, but I think another hour or two and we'll be into a point where we can think about turning our working lights off. Still a good large chunk of the field to do over here. I've decided we're just going to swath that middle section there. That should be more than enough, I think, for us to process tomorrow, and then hopefully we can get the whole thing done tomorrow, baling and collecting. We'll see how we get on with that. I am probably going to be renting a bale stacker just to help speed the process up. We are going to be square baling that field there, so a couple of bits of equipment to rent tomorrow. Obviously we'll have to make sure that we sell off our silage bales to be able to afford to do that. And oh, there we go. a little burst of light as the sun gets a little bit higher. Definitely getting brighter and easier to see where we're going now. So we're coming up on around about 8 o'clock in the morning now, and the lights are off. We're working normally now, and I think we're close to halfway through the field. I grossly overestimated just how long this thing would actually take to harvest. Midnight, I don't know what I was thinking with midnight. Still going to take us a long time. There's no doubt about that, but it's not going to take us till midnight. Let's see, we started at 2, so we've been going for 6 hours, nearly 6 hours. We're looking, I would say, at least another 6, maybe 7 or 8 hours to finish this off, but that would put us sort of mid-afternoon. That would put us somewhere around about between 2 and 4 as the time we finish. I mean, that's still a very long day. That's definitely still a very long day, but not as long as I thought it was going to be, so we might actually be able to sell our silage bales today, which would be handy, because then we'd have the money to go ahead and get that baling equipment and get that nice and early. Yeah, midnight. What was I thinking? 10:15, and we are a little over 8 hours into our field. All the kind of chopped stuff has been done, apart from this little thin strip here. We're almost done with this. So all that's left now is that large central column, which we'll be swathing, so that we can then bale that tomorrow. We've done 2 full-ish trailers into the silo, so we've got around about 75 to 80,000 litres in the silo, plus a little bit in the trailer, I think. No, I think the trailer's empty, but we've got, what, 6,000 litres here, and then whatever's left on the field. So I think I may possibly be slightly optimistic with 150,000 litres. Maybe 130 to 140 is a little bit more accurate. It's still going to be a lot, though. Still going to be a lot of crop to deal with. Actually, can I get through? Have I? Yes, I have left enough gap. I was wondering whether I'd blocked my harvester in there for a second. But as you can see, all that section of the field there is done. That's all that's left. That's all we're going to be swathing. That'll give us in more than enough bales to deal with for ourselves, and also for bales to sell. It's going to be a long time-consuming job tomorrow, and I don't want to overplay it a little bit. So let's get positioned back over here, and we're going to swap out. We've done, as I say, we've been in the combine for over 8 hours now. We're going to jump out, and we're going to let a worker run the combine for us. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be sort of chasing with the 7R on this section here. So starting to get a little bit of fatigue getting this done, so it's time to swap out, I think. Let's get lined up. There we go. And we'll just power down. We'll pipe out what we've got left, and then we'll, as I say, we'll get a worker to run the combine for us. We'll have a quick coffee and bathroom break, and then we'll be back in the 7R, ready to unload as and when it's needed. So I've just been messaged by, or radioed by the operator in the combine to say that there is a problem with the header. Apparently I was a little bit rough with it, and it does need a little bit of maintenance, which unfortunately we don't have the funds to buy the parts that we need, not yet. So we're going to have to wait until we sell our silage bales. So we're running, it is still able to harvest, as you can see. We are running at a reduced speed though. We're only able to harvest at around 4 miles an hour as opposed to 6. It's not the end of the world. It's not a massive problem, but it is something that we are definitely going to have to address going forward. So that'll be something that we'll look at trying to get fixed before we do our soybean harvest. I'll get onto the phone with the John Deere dealership, go and collect the parts that we need, and then we can fix that hopefully here at the yard. It depends just how serious the fault with the header is. But as I say, touch wood, we'll be alright. So let's just peel off. I don't want to burn out the auger, just leaving it running continuously. We'll just let that drift ahead of us a little bit. So we've got about, what, 14,500 litres here. Let's just take a quick look and see how much we have in storage. We have another 75,000 in storage. So between us and the trailer, we've got about 90,000 litres so far. That's not bad. You can see we've got quite a wide swath still to go of grain there. But it's not going to take too much longer to get that done. I think we're probably only looking at maybe another 3 hours. It depends how much this slower operating speed is going to affect us. It might well be that we are going to take a little bit longer than we are definitely going to take a little bit longer than we should do. We're running down at 4 as opposed to 6. And that extra 2 miles an hour is going to have a knock-on effect on just how long it takes to deal with the rest of it. I hope it's not going to be too substantial, but we have effectively we're running at 2/3 operating speed as a result of that. So yeah, we just have to, as I say, get those bales sold. In fact, what I might do is I might, if I just drop the trailer there, let's go and collect some of those bales, try and get those sold off while our combine is operating. Then we can at least go and buy the parts that we need, and then we can get that header fixed tomorrow. Am I going to have time? You know what? I'm not going to have time. We'll sell the bales later. We'll sell the bales once we're done on this field. We'll save the baling for tomorrow. This is going to give you an idea of how much we're going to have to do. So that there is obviously 3 passes. And this whole section across here, this is what we're going to be baling all the way through to here. So I mean, it's not a large portion in relation to the field itself in total sort of field space, but it's still a large amount of straw that we're going to generate there, and that's going to give us a good number of bales. We'll get a nice little bit of extra income from selling most of those. And the rest of them, you know, we'll be sort of keeping for our cows so that we've got straw bedding. They're going to need another bale, actually. I think what I'll do is I'll very quickly go and bale a single straw bale for our cows, or a couple of bales for our cows. So that we can top up their straw bedding, because they're going to be running very, very low. We're going to have very little straw, if any, left at all by the end of the day. So let's grab the baler, and at least we'll get a couple of round bales. We have to do some of our baling in round bales because we have a round bale shredder for blowing our straw. So you know, a square bale isn't going to fit in one of those. So some of our field is going to have to be done with a round baler. We may as well actually do those now, thinking about it. And then we could do the square stuff tomorrow. And those can be then loaded off the field. But if we at least do a couple of passes. So let's unfold our baler. There we go. Let's lower it down. Get it turned on. And we'll run at 8 miles an hour as our baling speed. How fast are we filling up the baler? Well, that's half a bale already. So a decent pass speed. We need, I would say, probably no more than a dozen bales for the cows. Oops. There we go. That's a full run already. Well, I left some straw on the field. Yes, a little bit. Let's go back and get that. Also drop the bale here out of the way. You see, look at that. I mean, it's a slight slope there, but it's not moving at all. Whereas on our grass meadow, that was rolling all over the place. That would have rolled away on if it was wrapped. I'm almost certain of that. So, yeah, that wrap obviously does seem to make our bales very slippy on the surface of whatever field that we're on. Or maybe it's because it was on a grass field and not... Well, and, you know, I say that, you know, on a grass field instead of a crop field. But the hay bales didn't roll, did they? No, we saw a tiny little bit of movement as the bale was put down and then it stopped. If that was wrapped, it would have kept on going. Watch that one. See, that one's not moving either, look, and the slope is perhaps a little bit more pronounced on this part of the field. I don't know, it's strange. It's very strange. I tell you, it would be interesting to see if the Anderson group balers use a different type of wrap and maybe makes those bales a little bit less slippy, or if it's the same, you know, the same stuff. I'm curious as to whether we'll see a change in bale physics once that Anderson Group equipment arrives. I think 2 runs up and down the field will be enough. So if we go back down again, that should be enough straw, I think, for our cows. And if worst comes to worst and we haven't got enough and we sold too many, well, we can always go and buy the odd bale that we need to. But this is purely just for bedding. We don't need this for our TMR mix. We're running just a hay silage 50-50 mix. And we don't need to pad it out with straw. Plus we couldn't get a third bale into the mixer anyway. Doesn't have the capacity to support 3 full bales, and the ratio would be off if we tried to put a third, a straw bale in there. So it would have to be loose, and we don't have anywhere to store loose straw. So even if we wanted to, we're not really in a position to add straw into our TMR mix at the moment. There we go. I'm actually going to disconnect our baler, and I'm going to go grab our trailer because I want to make sure that the combine doesn't fill up on its back pass back down the field again. I'm also slightly concerned that continuing to use the header, which we kind of have to do, might damage it further, and it might even slow the harvest down even more. I mean, we can get it fixed. It's just, the longer it takes today, then the less likelihood we've got of being able to sell our silage bales today, and there might be something that we'll have to wait until tomorrow. Let's go empty this again. Well, there's the warning. Look, he's just hit 80% of his fill tank, so This is where we did grab the trailer, isn't it? We'll finish this downward pass here of the straw. Then we'll put the baler back away again. That'll be enough straw, I think, for our cows. We'll top up their straw levels a bit, and then we'll have another look at their levels. We may possibly do a third pass, and then everything else that we get off this field, we're going to bale tomorrow with a least square baler, and we'll take those straight to the sell point, I think. It's going to be a quicker and easier way of doing that, and then we'll see where we are financially with the income from the straw bales and the income from our silage bales. Should put us in quite a nice little position, I think. Not too long to go on the field now, as you can see. We've got about 108,000 in the silo, and we had what, about 8,500 in the trailer before it started filling up again. So it's about 115,000 plus whatever's in the combine. That's nearly full, so probably say another 8,000. That's 123, and then whatever's left on the field, which is probably another 10 to 20,000 at most, probably say 15,000. So we're looking at around about 140 to 150,000. That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. It's kind of on par with what I was expecting. We've got 12 bales doing 2 runs. So we'll have a count as how many swaths we've got at the end and make a rough kind of estimate as to how many bales we might produce based on 6 bales per swath. Oh, there we go. I think we've emptied the combine. So let's see, we've got the one that's being done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that there is somewhere in the region of 60 to 65 bales, maybe 66 at a push. Somewhere in that kind of region. Got a great demand at the sawmill. Notification just pop up. They must be in need of some lumber or some wood chips. We have neither, so we can't help out in that situation. But if we had some wood chips to sell, then obviously this would be a good opportunity to maybe cash in a little bit. Speaking of, there is an alcove, over as the field kind of curves around over there. In fact, let me just detach the trailer for a second. I'm going to drive over and show you. One of the things I've been thinking about possibly doing with this field in the off season is just resculpting the edge a little bit. So if I make my way around here, you can see obviously the way that the field follows the hedge line here, but there, up ahead there, you can see it just kind of curves around that sort of area here. I'm thinking about tearing this up. I'm thinking about cutting these trees down and maybe chipping them and ploughing up that sort of grass verge area over there, and taking that little sort of section there and actually creating that or adding that into the field, just so it extends the boundary of the field a little bit. I don't know. We'll see how we go. That might be a little job for us to do over winter. It's just to rip that little bit of ground up there and just extend our border, because it's a little bit of an awkward shape, look, that just juts out, and we could clean that out a little bit and just reshape the edge of our field slightly. It's something for us to think about, something for us to consider as a potential job this winter. Again, it all depends how cold it gets. If the ground freezes up, then we may not really have the time to do that once it starts thawing out again. We do need to get our seeding done early this year or next year. Plus, we've got 19 that needs to be worked on. So it's something we'll add onto the to-do list or possible to-do list. There we go. So we've just got to wait for this little bit of grain to be finished off, and then we'll go and, if we have time, because it's now, what, 3:15, we'll go and sell our silage bales and call in at the store to collect those parts that we've requested to try and get our header fixed so that we can get ourselves through the soybean harvest in a couple of days' time. So I've just emptied the combine again, and it's probably maybe going to need one more unload. Well, yeah, it's probably going to need one more unload before it can finish the field off. But we're going to do a little bit of TLC with the cows. We're going to give them some straw. We've got 4 bales put aside to top up their straw levels. I don't know if they're going to need all 4. I've also fitted the rear weight this time, as you can see, just to give our 6M a little bit more stability. And there's the 4 bales that we're going to use to actually top up the straw bedding for our cows. And those 8. And maybe one of those, if we get any left over, they're going to get put back into storage at the end of the day. Just jump out and open the gate up. There we go. So let's lower that down. Oop. Just do like this so I can actually see the height difference. There we go. Let's detach. Something's going on. The spikes there we go. A bit tangled. Let's grab one of these bales, load it into our shredder. Yeah, I can see that was going to get knocked over. Kind of expected that, but it's okay. It's fine. There we go. Now we'll reconnect. And let's get this straw blown into our shed. I wonder what our fill level is like, actually. Yeah, down to just 850 litres of straw left. Not much at all. So this will certainly give us plenty of bedding for our cows. I guess we'll probably end up using all 4 bales, and then that'll leave us 8 left, and from that we can kind of judge whether or not we might need to do another round, another row of bales or not. There we go. That's that bale dealt with. So let's do the same again. Grab another bale, load it in. Oop, that one's trying to escape. Should be okay like that. It's trying to roll out, isn't it? Now we can still shred it. There we go. So we'll do that with the other 2 bales as well. We'll see what our straw level looks like at the end. If actually, no, we're not going to need all 4 bales. So probably only need 1 more bale after this, and then that'll be enough to fill up our straw level. We'll tidy up the cows a little bit later as well. You can see our productivity's dipped ever so slightly because there's a little bit of mess. We'll get that cleaned up, as I say, and that'll boost the productivity. They've still got plenty of food, plenty of water, so they don't need topping up just yet. And you can see that the hay silage has gone up just a little bit. That's the mess that we cleared up the other day and then fed back into the trough. So we've got a little bit of that there. They break it down into their constituent parts when they spit it back out again. So yeah, I'll crack on with sorting out the straw. We'll stack all the bales at the end of the day. We won't do that now. We've still got a harvest to worry about. And I'll make sure that the field gets finished off properly as well. So see you in a moment. So the harvest is finished. We ended up with a final tally of around 144,000 litres. That's a very nice, impressive little haul. We've got plenty of straw on the field, and now we're selling our silage bales. I've already picked up the parts that I need. It only cost me about £450 to get the parts that I needed to repair the combine header, which isn't too bad. That's not too bad. I can live with that expense. It was my own clumsy, carelessness of driving into the back of the trailer early on in the harvest that caused the problem. So, it's not something that's just breaking down on me. It's me breaking something down. It's I made the mistake. I should pay the penalty for it. But you can see here as we come up, we've been getting very, very good price on our bales. I've already sold the first 8. And we got a little over 10 grand for them, which is a much better price than we got last time we sold them. So there must be a pretty high demand. Let's see how much we get for these ones. Should be somewhere, I think, if it's still a stable price, in the region of around 10.5 grand for these 8 bales. Let's hit the unload. There we go. Look at that. £10,758 for 8 bales of silage. That's a very nice price indeed. So it's obviously going to fluctuate depending on when we're selling. It looks as though we're selling at a very good time right now. So I've got another, another 3 full loads, and then a group of 5 bales to go as well. So we're looking at another 35 to 40 grand. If we add up all those little bits, we're looking at somewhere, say 37, 38 grand to add on to the 17 and a bit that we already have. That is absolutely great. That's going to give us the money to lease our baler, lease the stacker, and I'm also going to pay off a little bit of our loan. I'm probably going to pay 25 grand off of the loan, so that it's a little bit less that we have to worry about later. And that's going to leave us quite nice financially. Tomorrow we'll be doing all the baling with the straw bales. We'll be selling those off as well, or a good number of those straw bales off. I don't think we're going to keep any more. I only needed 2 and 2/3 bales to fill up the straw trough. So we're not going to need insane numbers. We've got 9 completely fresh bales that we can stack up in our shed, and we've got about 1,000 litres of straw left from the other bale that we can put into our cow shed probably tomorrow or in a day or two's time to use that up. So yeah, we're in a really nice position right now, in the sense that we've got some money coming in, we've got more money due to come in as well. We can service part of our debt, and we've still got more harvesting to do and crops to sell. So it's all looking quite promising. And we still have the second half of the second cut on field 19 to go as well. So yeah, I'm feeling very, very happy indeed. I'm going to call it a day here for the end of the episode. I've still got obviously a little bit of work left to do. The rest of these bales to sell, the straw to stack, and the combine to, you know, fix the header and put away for the night. But I'll do that all off camera. And when we come back tomorrow, as I say, we'll crack on with the straw. And then we might well start with the second cut on this field as well. We'll see how we go. Anyway, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more Marwell Manor very soon.